big story. I'm Mike Ajachi in Washington. Breaking news, that bombshell verdict handing down in the New York civil fraud trial of Donald Trump, threatening his business empire. The judge in the case, among other punishments, fining the former president $354 million, barring him from holding an executive position at a New York company for 3 years, and barring his two eldest sons, Eric and Don Jr., from serving as officers or directors at any New York company for 2 years. The judge also fining the sons $4 million each. This after he already ruled Donald Trump inflated his wealth on financial statements to secure more favorable terms from banks and insurers. New York Attorney General Letitia James was seeking $370 million in penalties and a ban on Trump and other defendants from doing business in the state. Today's verdict, a potential serious blow to the family real estate business that catapulted Trump to fame and that he spent decades building. Now, this, of course, just one of several major legal cases surrounding the former president. Just yesterday, he appeared in court in New York City, where a judge sent a March 25th trial date in Trump's criminal hush money case involving alleged payments to porn star Stormy Daniels. And today in Atlanta, a judge for a second straight day hearing testimony and arguments over motions to disqualify Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis from the Georgia RICO case against Trump and 18 co-defendants. This after Willis herself took the stand yesterday, blasting claims she financially benefited from a romantic relationship with one of her top prosecutors. We'll have much more on today's proceedings in Georgia just ahead. But joining me for this is ABC News Chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl. Jonathan, let's start with that major verdict in New York today. Trump's legal team calling this an injustice and part of a witch hunt decided to take down Donald Trump. This clearly will have an impact on the Trump organization, but what about Trump personally and politically?
Well, this is a huge blow to Donald Trump and to his image. This is far beyond simply his business, simply the Trump organization. In fact, his business image is indivisible from his image that he projects in politics. So if you look at the way Donald Trump had focused on this case, I would argue that he has put as much attention and vitriol towards those that were prosecuting this case as he has against even his criminal cases. This, of course, a civil case against his company, but it gets at the heart of Donald Trump's image. This is the company he built. The message that he brought to voters, even when he first ran for president, was, I am the guy. I am the guy that built the biggest, the best New York real estate company. I am the guy that changed the skyline of New York. I am going to do for Americans what I've done in business for myself. And now that's all teetering as he faces this massive fine and a ban from leading that company for 3 years.
You know, Trump's campaign, they're already fundraising off this decision. We've seen that time and time again, him trying to use these legal cases to his political advantage. Will this case be similar and in proportion with the penalties the judge imposed today?
Well, you know, like you just pointed out immediately, I mean, we were still reading through the decision when the first fundraising appeal went out. I assume there will be people that will pony up money, that will buy his argument that he has, you know, been a victim of a witch hunt here. But if you take a look at what's on the screen right now, this is an interesting section of the ruling today about Donald Trump as a witness. Read this. Overall, Donald Trump rarely responded to the questions asked and frequently interjected long, irrelevant speeches on issues far beyond the scope of the trial. His refusal to answer questions directly, or in some cases at all, severely compromised his credibility. And the reason why I highlight that passage is Donald Trump testified in this case. He spent some 10 days in the courtroom. He would come out and he would give little mini press conferences or press statements after each day that he was in there. He was trying to use this case and use his appearance in that courtroom to boost his campaign. Again, to highlight how they were coming after him and to call it a witch hunt. But as you see from this line, Donald Trump's attempt to use the courtroom to benefit his political campaign, whatever the impact may or may not have been on his political campaign, it damaged his legal standing. Again, strong language, severely compromised his credibility. That's the judge, that's his reaction to Trump's performance, behavior in that courtroom, and a big part of why he rendered the verdict he rendered.
Now, Jonathan, you've written extensively about Trump's campaign of retribution in your latest book, Tired of Winning, Donald Trump and the End of the Grand Old Party. Will this decision make him even angrier?
I think so. As a matter of fact, as I alluded to, if you track the way he has responded to all of these cases, you know, he's lashed out, he's called it a witch hunt, he's gone after the prosecutors, he's gone after witnesses in some cases. But I think more than any case, even though this is not one of the criminal cases, this can't send him to jail, but I think this is the one that irritated him and bothered him the most because it got to the base, you know, to what he sees as the core of his identity and to the kind of secret sauce of his image as a politician as well, the idea that he's a massively successful businessman. This calls him a fraud. The verdict is he's a fraud, and the penalty could, I mean, it could bankrupt him. I mean, it is a massive, massive penalty.
Massive penalty it is. And Trump still battling Nikki Haley in the GOP primary race. That's set to face off against her next week in her home state of South Carolina. Now, he has a big lead in the polls, but could this decision hurt him at all with voters in that state?
I mean, you know, the other ones haven't hurt him so far. He's benefited by playing victim, so we will see. Nikki Haley, you know, it's interesting. I'm going to be interviewing Nikki Haley on Sunday on This Week. We have an exclusive interview with her. She actually had, when the criminal charges came down in the other cases, she had been quite critical of the prosecutors. It effectively defended Donald Trump. She had said in one of the debates, you know, asked if she would support him even if he were convicted of a felony. She said yes, she would if he were the nominee. So I'll be very interested to see how she will play this. I suspect it might be different. We'll see. How does she respond? Does she use this as another reason to campaign against Donald Trump? But we'll be talking to her on Sunday.
All right, John, we will see. Thank you very much. And be sure to watch John anchoring This Week on Sunday on ABC with 3 big exclusive interviews. GOP presidential contender Nikki Haley, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, and Charlemagne the God. Now, let's bring the big story to our panel. Joining us today, ABC News contributor and Sirius XM host Mike Muse, ABC News contributor and former Republican congressman for New York, John Katko, Democratic strategist Alencia Johnson, and ABC News contributor and op-ed columnist for the LA Times, LZ Granderson. Hello again, everybody. Happy Friday. Now, John, I want to start with you. Trump is found guilty yet again, now forced to pay $354 million. Is this enough to turn off swing voters in the coming election?
I don't think this in and of itself will, but I think this, you need to take a look at this piece as a very big part of the puzzle. I think Jonathan's right. This case really bothered Trump. But I think it bothered him because he knows the financial consequences that he's facing. And he's got to come up with tens of millions of dollars just to post a bond for appeal. So this is hurting him bad in the wallet, and it's hurting his image. Now, you overlay with that, the trial he's got coming up with Stormy Daniels about hush money to a porn star. And then he's got several other criminal matters coming. How much more pressure can he handle? How much more can he take? And at what point does a light bulb go off with Republican voters, at least those who are concerned about him going forward? So we'll see. But this is definitely a devastating first shot at him coming into the election year.
Now, LZ, Trump has built his brand on the image of wealth and power. Is that the biggest blow to Trump that you're seeing right now?
Well, it certainly is tied to his ego. You know, as John Carl, mentioned in your previous interview, this is a big part of his brand, just as a politician, but also just as a celebrity. This is someone who was on the lifestyle of the rich and famous. He has not always been president, but as far as we know, he has always been rich. And now he's kind of being brought to the table here, has been exposed as maybe not as rich as he has been, claiming to be. And I will also add that it's really fascinating to see, what the conversation is going to be like for voters going forward, who happen to be Republican. Because if you really believe that Donald Trump was better at the economy, and you find out that he's been inflating his numbers for years, how exactly are you going to see him as a better person that's better for the economy? That's going to be fascinating to see them rationalize that.
And Mike, Willis's father, John Floyd, spoke at length on his daughter's use of cash as a black thing. What's your take on that?
We're looking at this case, for me, as this intersection of culture and legality. Coming into this trial about disqualification of Fani Willis, the judge had to really determine whether or not she was benefiting financially from her relationship that she had with Nathan Wade. That was the question that the burden the defense had to prove. Before Fani Willis took the stand, we heard from the friend Robert, we heard from Nathan Wade, and what came to be questionable was this idea of cash. You actually heard a response in the courtroom when Nathan said that she responded to her in cash. When Fani Willis took the stand, what we became to learn is that culturally, her father instilled in her to always have cash on hand and to have 6 months worth of living expenses in a safe or somewhere stored in your home to always use. So as a result of culturally having to understand the importance of having cash, and elderly black people in generations in particular, like my grandfather, kept cash in the mattress. There's a distrust of the banking system. Once she explained that, that allowed us to have the constitution of why she chose to use cash as repayment and why there was no receipt there. So we're looking at this intersectionality of the two.
And Valencia, the monetary judgment against Trump is substantial. Plus, he owes $83 million to E. Jean Carroll in damages in her case. Do you think the former president can pay those amounts?
It's absolutely impossible, probably, for the former president to pay those amounts because these cases have exposed that he has lied about his finances. But what he is doing, and I think Democrats and those who oppose Donald Trump, not just Democrats, need to continue to tell the people who support Donald Trump that their donations to his campaign are really funding his legal cases as well as funding his lifestyle. So we want to make sure that we continue to expose the fraud that he is, and this will bankrupt not only him, but his children and generations to come.
Mike, John, Alencia, and LZ, thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.